interesting week. And it was tough because that's what happens sometimes. The highlight was finding this wonderful retro color wheel. I like talking about the science of art, and I love talking about primary and complementary and secondary and all those wonderful colors because they do play a part in my collages. This made me feel better. What also made me feel better was discovering a fellow YouTube collage artist, Mia Bloom. I'm going to link her handle in my description. Please check her work out. She does a lot of geometric work. At least the videos I saw were geometric and actually quite amazing. She also did an entire video on using mailers, which is what I do here and there too. Anyway, I was super inspired, and I am going to attempt something this week, maybe not. But what I'm going to do is take these mailers and get as much out of them as I can to create a background for a collage I have an idea for. So bear with me through time lapse and let's see what rabbits we can pull out of the hat. What I did here with this wine magazine mailer advertising a local wine place opening here in Glendale, California, they had some beautiful photographs in this mailer that I absolutely had to take advantage of. I left out the bottles themselves. I didn't really take any images of the bottles. And I also stayed away from what I think is a really cool image of Snoop Dogg. I try to stay away from celebrities for the most part in my work. That's just me. I just stay away from it. Even though it's a really cool image of him, he's recognizable, and I like to use things that aren't really recognizable. Now, in mentioning Mia Bloom and her YouTube channel, what I took from the video I saw with the mailer was all of the colors that she focused on. So what I took from it was something like this. Now, I'm not cutting out the image of this bottle. I really just want the color of this green. And I'm going to cut it down to where it's not recognizable as a bottle of wine. Just the color will be available to me, and I can do with it as I please later. Maybe not, but I love it. And I think I'm probably going to go back through this mailer and steal more colors that way, just to have a different palette when I begin this next collage. I have an idea of what I'd like to do for the next collage. And like I said, I was thoroughly inspired by the mailer challenge. See this blue on the Sky Vodka? It's really beautiful. Cut it up. And I just have an interesting swatch of color where you really don't know what the original source was. That's the kind of thing that I'm looking for, and that's what I was inspired by. What Mia did also was use a lot of text in the collages and then just really geometric cutting, which looked like so much fun to me. I was watching the video kind of late at night before going to bed. Because like I said, it was a rough week, and sometimes for a rough week I just sit and watch YouTube videos and something really wonderful like that happens. I got completely inspired and I wanted to stay up all night and do collage. And I thought, no, that's not a good idea. Oh, this is from another magazine. So I'm just cutting up a lot of smaller pieces right now. It's sort of like, for me, it's like knitting. It allows me to think about what my next move might be, and at the same time I'm getting something done, sort of. Cutting is very, very soothing. So that wine flyer had a lot of pictures. I love this. And this is going to be cool on its own. Some really wonderful graphics. I'm going to move on to this basic home improvement guide. See what I can find in here. Favorite classes in art school was photography, and one of the best lessons from that class was to invade space. In other words, if you're taking a picture, leave out the sky, leave out the grass, and just focus on that focal point so everyone knows what you're getting at. This feels like that lesson. Pieces of pools really now just look like swatches of color. Bricks, well, they still look like bricks, but they have more of an archaic quality to me now. This piping, maybe it's recognizable to someone who does contracting work. To my viewers, they can imagine it to be anything they want it to be. Windows now are elements of design, geometrics. This is what I love, and this is how I was inspired by Mia's video from the other day. And I'm going to just start sorting. Here are my bottles. They don't look like bottles anymore, do they? They don't to me. And I even got this very patriotic looking banner, which could have been a Word document, graphic even. I'll put those off to the side. Sometimes I like to throw something a little recognizable and fun into the collage. But I'm definitely drawn to these blues. I'm just sorting right now, thinking, always thinking, which feels good after a long week of, well, thinking, but this is fun thinking. I love the color. So I'm going to do a smaller collage with these smaller pieces I collected. Off camera, I was cutting up other images scattered about my workspace, and I think I just want to stay small for now and explore some more. Go back to what is familiar for me. Grabbed an image again that was hanging out on my desk and took a pen to it to figure out what I'd like to do or what I'd like to cut. And as for the background, it'll be something different than this. Let's get started. Similar to other collages I've worked on where I just fill in my gaps, this one is unique in that it was all mailer pieces, very small pieces, and a focal point found in a magazine taped onto the back, and here we have a collage. Got a little lazy only because I did not feel like doing any crazy detail with the feet and the hands. As it was, it looked like it was going to be a fairly simple collage. No collage is exactly simple. There was a lot of work going on because I sectioned off what I wanted to do with the abs and such. So here he is, he's done. He looks something like an angel. I thought the wings appeared when I was cutting away that chair, and I thought, I may want to keep those. Maybe I'll cut them. I'm not sure. He is sort of monochromatic. I tried to stay with very neutral beige and gray tones. I have off to the side here lots of purple. I used a little bit for the underwear. And this is where I believe I may be headed for my background, using these pieces of violets and indigos and see what I come up with. He's relatively small, so I have a lot of wiggle room. It also means I need to think about what kind of substrate I'm going to use. Piece of watercolor paper or cardboard or just a healthy piece of cardstock to adhere these background pieces to. He is fairly ornate, so I may want to stay away from pieces like this because they're busy, beautiful but busy. I may want to stay with something along the lines of this. So I am going to start building a background for our collage and give him a new home. Idea of what I'm doing here because this ventures away from my usual tactics. I took a page out of this wonderful book I was just gifted, an old embroidery book. I loved this design and thought, well, it might be a good background that might be peeking through, but I am staying with my purple. And I am gluing as I go, making sure everything goes into place that I kind of want it. These are mainly scraps, so nothing that I'll be heartbroken if it doesn't work out. I tend to not be much of a risk taker in general in life. And with art, I don't mind taking risks if the media doesn't cost very much money. That's why I'm not an oil painter, for example, and I'm not a very good ceramicist, although I do love ceramics, but I'm not a ceramicist. So what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of going with the feeling of the pieces. So a lot of cloth, a lot of images that I took from clothing magazines, and kind of just going with whatever flow of the clothing that was pictured, cutting it into the shape that it was photographed in, and definitely planning on scanning this later for cleanliness because there's going to be some wrinkling. I'm just not putting on too much Mod Podge, but slapping on some Mod Podge onto the back of magazine paper. Something like that usually results in some wrinkling, and that always has annoyed me. So not too much of the Mod Podge, but like I said, I am going to scan it. It will look cleaner in Photoshop. I won't do anything to the image really, maybe just some auto toning and contrast. Just want to kind of get something down here on paper. Kind of like the way that looks. So I'm treating this very stream of consciousness. I'm just creating as I go and inviting you to hang out and see what I come up with, and hopefully maybe inspire a viewer or two the way I've been inspired this past week. Again, I'm going to put Mia Bloom's YouTube handle in the description, because you definitely need to check out her techniques. I know I will, because I really was really moved by it. Okay, because I think I will do something, something here, because I really do like this. If it doesn't get cut off ultimately, you never know. Yeah, I kind of like the way this is looking. And I'm not worrying about having this little bit of white space, because I'm probably going to cut it down a little bit also, just to trim it up just a little bit. Some more Mod Podge here. Get that stuck down. A little bit of overlapping, just a touch, just to keep it in place, because it like I said, just going to scan it. It doesn't need to stay exactly in place. So this has some beautiful design color element on it. I kind of want it to stay away from my focal point, maybe. Plus he has this in the collage, so I think I want to keep it as, I really want to keep that contrast up. So far so good. I'm liking the way this is turning out. If any part of this comes in here, it's going to be right here maybe. Yeah, I like that. So a little bit more Mod Podge. Push my guy off to the side here. I got to think of a name for him. It's one thing my tremendous, talented editor asks of me whenever we start getting ready to do the editing, the video editing. He asks me, what are we calling this, so he can create the file. And I'm usually like, I don't know. And it takes me a while. At this point, I don't know what I'm going to call this. He has kind of an angel look about him. This is, okay, purple angel. I don't know if I like that, but maybe. Maybe. He didn't start out as an angel, did he? Who cares? We'll see. See what we come up with. I got this little nugget of ephemera that might look good right about here, just to fill in the gap. Lift that up. Another good reason not to put on too much glue, because if you have to lift it up a little bit, you can. It doesn't hurt anything. Like that. Just a little bit. And I can use some more in other parts of this collage. Okay. And where do we want to go from here? Do we want to do this? How is this looking? Don't have to do too much thinking about it. I'm not trying to, because that's no fun when you do too much thinking. Believe me, it's not. And I don't have to go all the way to the end. In fact, I don't think I will. I think we're almost done here. And some more. There's still actually just enough Mod Podge to give it a little bit of a sticker feeling. I am a child of the 70s and 80s. I collected stickers, loved my stickers. I think that's why I love collage. Probably where that all came from. Okay. So, I already glued this down. See, I can move my guy around a little bit here. Think something along these lines. You know what? Yeah, why not? I like this too. I may want to use this in another collage, and I really like this. I cut it out yesterday, and it was in the background for this image was very purple. So the gold has that nice rosy tinge to it. I thought I might use it in here. He's got a little bit of rose or a little bit of gold up here too. So let's see. Well, let me think about it a little more. I do like that, yeah. Why not? It's fine. Just do it. Again, I'm not applying a lot of Mod Podge, so if I want to later on, that's fine. I can pull it up and probably salvage all these pieces. I'm just being really gentle with it. And if I scan my focal point, my purple angel guy, separately into Photoshop, I can move him around in Photoshop later. And for me to make that admission is pretty big. I was so scared of using Photoshop, and I so admire the digital collage artists out there, and I really wanted to participate, but I'm like, I'm not a digital person. I can't do it. And COVID forced me to stay home, and I learned how to sort of work with Photoshop. Photoshop and I are acquainted. We aren't the best of friends, but we do work together fairly well. It's that coworker that you would never hang out with outside of work, but you can work just fine with them. That's how I perceive Photoshop. Okay, so here is my background made up of wonderful scraps of purple. My main focal point, kicking back here. I want to see if I can pull this guy out because I want to move it over. You know what? I put a lot of blue on here. Okay, it's not too bad. It is pulling up a little bit. Okay, so be it. I just wanted to move it over here like that. I feel better with it over there. And because I didn't move it much, I didn't put on too much, it moved pretty easily. I have a space here, but this space might not show up in the final image. Let me cut some here. This is loose. I didn't glue this down. Huh, shame on me. No big. Tuck it in. Paintbrushes in my teeth if I'm talking funny, you know why. Okay, there we go. And I'm gonna put this here just to cover up this mess. Ah, my guy. I'm moving him around with my stickier hands now. Okay, so he is not adhered, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and gently glue him down for the sake of the finished collage. I'm not going to worry about scanning him alone into Photoshop. I'm just going to scan this whole thing into Photoshop at once, and it'll be finished, and it'll become a hybrid collage, half analog, half, well, actually less than half digital. So we are nearly done. And I am very grateful for your viewership. And please check out Miss Mia Bloom and her page. And I will see you all next week.